Hello, listeners. It's Jim the Keys Bartender. It's the day after Cinco de Mayo. And this year, Cinco de Mayo fell on May 5th, which actually that's what it means. The 5th of May. And in the restaurant business, it runs a distant second in volume, at least in the United States. And, mainly a lot of other places, because it's really a non-existent holiday. I was talking to one of my friends who's a Mexican, and I asked him about Cinco de Mayo, and he says that's mainly a holiday they only celebrate in Mexico City, and it signifies independence from. And I think it was Emperor Maximilian. They try to the Europeans try to reestablish some kind of colony in Mexico after they had their independence, and that's one of the almost. It's not exactly their July 4th, but here in the United States, with the prevalence of marketing, huge sales of Mexican beer and tequila and things like that. What better way to sell more of the product than promoting a holiday that isn't widely celebrated in Mexico, much like St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day wasn't as big a holiday as in Ireland. Certainly wasn't a drinking holiday. It's a religious holiday. St. Patrick was a patron saint of Ireland. So yesterday we ran at the Catch restaurant here in Key Largo, much like any other place in the United States. A lot of different places. We ran $5 margaritas and a couple Mexican dishes on special. So we had some people going in and coming in and ordered $5 margaritas. But I mean, they don't seem that offended, cultural appropriation of this Mexican holidays, minor Mexican holidays, probably bigger ones they could do, which, just an observation. I really don't think, I guess with, they're making it a drinking holiday. It's a drinking holiday, much like St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, celebrating America's independence. You'd think it was all about parades and fireworks. Not about the struggle for our independence from our colonial overlords, the British Empire. It's not spoken about a lot, and a lot of people don't even realize what 4th of July is about. I mean, the whole aspect of 4th of July. But I'm not going to go in length over holidays today. I wanted to talk about things that I guess it's just currently people just think things are crazy now. We're experiencing a lot of different things in here in the United States and around the world. I mean, we just gotten through a pandemic. It seems to be there could be another resurgence coming with this COVID. And there's inflation. There's political division with the leaked reports coming out of the Supreme Court that they're going to overturn Roe versus Wade. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things going on there, and war in Ukraine, all around the world. War's been going on, and people, you just think you could get if you watch the news, you can get really kind of down in your dumps, and then you have all your personal items that you have issues with. For me, when you're younger and you're healthy and your prospects are good and things are going well, at least where you are living, let's say, you may not think about these things. And then when things pile on, you got some health issues, you got your relatives are getting older, your parents are getting older, people getting older, elderly, sickly, you can have economic hardship, you can have mental hardships. And it causes you to think, wow, life is super difficult. Has it ever been more difficult than this? And most assuredly, it has. It has. I mean, go back 20,000 years before the establishments of city, when we were just hunter-gatherers. Humans were hunter-gatherers. They would gather in small bands, and they lived in all sorts of different places. I can imagine it was a daily struggle just to survive. I mean, you had to go find food. You had to look out for protection from predators. You had to look out for protection from other roving bands of hunter-gatherers. So it was probably a daily struggle for people every day. Unless they were lucky, But there was no agriculture at that time, raising of herds and things like that. 20,000 years ago, pretty much when you went to sleep, if you didn't have strung up an animal you were still eating from the day before, you were going to have to get up the next day and look for food, and then you were going to have to survive when you went out there to do it. Humans probably at that time had the same mental capability, because evolution happens on a long timeline. So they had the ability to learn. And if you took someone from that long ago, a lot of scientists would say if you brought them up, a child, a baby, and you were able to raise them, let's say they were a baby that was born 20,000 years ago, and you were able to, some way, export it actually to the 21st century and raise it using modern nutritional, educational, and all the comforts that we have, that child would develop along similar lines a way a human is today. But they didn't have that knowledge that was passed on through written language around them. They had no, they didn't even know if they had language at that time, because there was nothing written. The first cities came about around 8,000 years ago, maybe a little longer, and then you started having more organization, more sophisticated systems, writing systems, education, the way they gathered things, and the more time people had to contemplate their existence, which we have today. Today, behind me, where I'm doing the podcast right here, I have my refrigerator. Then I have my sink, stove, microwave, coffee maker, sink. Everything I need. And a pantry, dry goods. Everything I need to survive food-wise. And then I got a roof over my head. It's protected. Windows, lock on the door. I can see some predator approaching. If a saber-toothed tiger were to approach, I would be able to see it. Fortunately, there's no saber-toothed tigers. But with windows, I could keep it outside unless it decides to come through the window. But I'm getting out of the point of what I'm talking about. Meaning, I can make a meal, eat within 15 minutes. And then personal hygiene, that probably wasn't a thing back then, but I have my clothes, I have the place I'm going to see. It's all secure. I can get it uninterrupted if I could sleep all night without having to get up and urinate in the middle of the night. Because then again, probably 20,000 years ago, most of the people they were lucky to live past 30. With all the illnesses and things that could get you at that time, predators, illness, some kind of tetanus, anything. So many things could kill you. And nowadays, we have protection from them. We have the food. We have the hygiene. We go the way we dispose of our bodily waste. I'm sure after learning, these different groups of people realize and say, hey, listen, this is where we get our water. This is not where we want to put our waste. After seeing people get sick. And they may put two and two together and say, listen, we know through experience that if we do this separated, we do take care of our expulsion of our bodily waste over here, and we got our water over here. So it's the time to hunt, and it consumed our time. It consumed defending ourselves. I'm sure there wasn't a lot of time when he just sat. And they weren't able to pass these ideas along, except maybe once language developed orally. And then you had a written language, you'd be able to pass that on. But once we reach these benchmarks in human development, we had spare time to contemplate our place in the world, our existence, about the things that happen around us. It would be really hard for you to imagine what people thought of death back then. We know through archaeology how they did handled their dead companions, what they did with them. When they started burying them, preparing for what they thought could have been afterlife. And that's when they started contemplating, well, what happens afterwards? What is my place in this world? So here we are, not that far removed from being these people that were driven by urges and needs to eat. To hunt, to eat, to protect. And when they develop the ability to do it, to build fires, clothing to keep them warm, shelters to protect them, organizing different entities to protect them against other threatening groups, getting bigger, starting from little bands of groups, family bands, to go into tribal groups, to go in, or clans to tribal groups, to cities, states, nations. And as we get more and more complicated, passing on more information, reducing the amount of time we need to do things to survive. Where a middle-class person needs 40 hours a week, if they're lucky, to work and take care of themselves. We have streamlined our shopping, the way we gather our food, the way we prepare our food. Less and less time. And even with entertainment. And we're passing along information even more and more. And that information could be adding to that anxiety and that uncertainty. But what is certain is that this has always been this way. That people had precarious existence. That when we contemplate, we're still contemplating our place in the world or the universe. We're still wondering what's going to happen after we die. We still have rituals on how we prepare people that have passed, the ones near us. Even people that don't believe in an afterlife have rituals. They have remembrances, memorial services, funerals, whatever you want to call them. And it's easy to think when we have all this information, you say, we can forget about that other people always go through this. And when you're younger, when you're young, you're developing, you don't have that memory of a lot of things occurring. You don't remember a lot of death. You don't remember a lot of heartache. You don't remember those things. So as we get older, our memories are full of things that we compare. And we're not as vigorous as we used to be. And that may add to our anxieties and things like that. And we think it's unusual. This is unique to us. This is unique that what is occurring. It's never happened before. Well, yeah, it never happened in that sequence. Those events that occurred. But there are always different things going on throughout history. And even when it's relatively calm and great where we are, there's other places in the world where people are going through extreme hardships, very extreme hardships. There's people still that live in the world that live pretty close to the existence people had hundreds of years ago, with little access to things like sanitary, up-to-date sanitary conditions, food preservation, fresh water, a secure homestead. There's places in the world, many places in the world, where when they lay their head down at that night, they don't know if their residence or wherever they're sleeping is secure, and that can add to their anxiety. So how come, knowing all these things, do we still get anxious when we know that we have it so good? I have things going on in my life and my loved ones' lives that cause me concern. Makes me not sleep well at night. And then I think about, it's not a unique thing. And it's hard to divorce yourself from the ability to say, hey, there's so many people that have it much worse than me. There's so many people that have it much worse than me. Sometimes you could focus on the people and say, well, how come they have it so good? Remember, the people that have it really good and that have, let's say they have a lot of resources. Someone is the super wealthy, the ultra wealthy, the ultra elites. They have their difficulties too, because they are not immune from certain things. They are not immune from anxiety, mental illness, substance abuse, bad relationships. They're not immune from questioning people's ulterior motives when they're in a relationship with them. Why are they so nice to me? Who can I trust? They have their problems too. So it doesn't matter where you are on that scale. I mean, it does matter, I guess, if you're spending, there are people in the world still today that are spending a long time, a lot of their energy getting the minimum requirements. Food, water, shelter, protection. And they may not be spending a lot of time thinking about their place in the world. They could be, who knows, when you're going 5 miles to get to a fresh water supply and to bring it back to where they live, or are concerned about when their next meal is going to be. So the answers to how do you alleviate those things, there's no easy answers. Everyone has everyone has one thing in common, is that they exist. But the things where they vary is levels of awareness. Are they appreciating that they aren't the only one? It must be extreme hardship for someone to believe when they're going through something that they're the only one going through it. Because it's hard to contemplate other people when they're going through hardships. When you're experiencing a hardship, it's hard to appreciate someone else's hardship. And that's unique because we have a body. It's not unique because it's a body, actually, because we can only feel our pain, real pain. We can't feel other people's real pain. But we can have empathy. And we can imagine how sorrowful someone could be when they lose someone close to them, or lose their pet, or going through a serious illness, or substance abuse problem. I don't have an answer today for those people to say you alleviate, but I know you can, because I've done it. If you have the ability to have empathy and memory and knowledge that you are not the only one going through these things, there are people are dealing with things. There are the happy warriors out there that are dealing with hardships and coping. And there's other people that are despondent. And it's easy to go down that road despondent. It's easy to get down that path. And it's hard to get back. When you can get into a rut and just think hardship, hardship, hardship. But is it possible to realize that these hardships prepare me, in spite of these hardships, that I can still care and be empathetic? I can be concerned about my loved ones, take care of them, but not be anxious about the future. It's a difficult balancing act sometimes. So what I do, and this is only when we're going the upswing right here, I try to inspire myself. I try to inspire myself by thinking of things that inspire me. I love animals. I like small children. I like people. I like working out. I know when I am feeling in a rut that if I do something, move a muscle, do a podcast, I can change the course of the direction of the way I'm thinking. And I can put a positive drive behind it to get me in that direction. And there was a show on television. I'm not going to talk about the show. It was a funny show. But they played some music. And it was by the Miami Choral Society. It's a children's choir. And I'm going to play this, even though I'm not supposed to play it. I'm not going to play the recording. I could download it right here, but I'm going to play the recording on my phone. And you know my feeling. I'm not very religious, but I am spiritual. And this song struck me, but there's other songs that struck. I like I just pick up like when I was a kid, I used to be a comic book freak. I like to see Superman. It reminded me of strength, perseverance, grandiosity. A song by Fleetwood Mac, Tusk. It's powerful, moving. I don't know. It's not necessarily positive or negative, but it's momentum. But this particular song reminded me of getting through hardships. It's called "The Storm is Passing Over." And imagine it was an old church song from someplace. So listen to this. This is the children's choir. I'm playing off my phone because I don't know if I put it in there. I can always delete it or something like that. I don't know. Let's see what you think. Here. Yeah, that's whenever I'm having hardship or anything like that, if I think about that, if I listen to that song, it kind of puts me in the mood to do something about it. And that's the thing. Breaking that drive that you're going down, when you're going down there, you're derailing that depressed train. Or switching lines. You're going saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's over. This is over. I'm ready to do this. So it's easy to think that whatever we're going through and the hardships we're going through are unique and personal. But everyone's going through their own hardships. Some are more difficult than others, but you're experiencing them yourselves and yourself. And it's not something necessarily something you have to do. It's difficult, but just because something's difficult doesn't mean you can't do anything about it. And that's what I have for you today. I'd like to thank you. And there's one other song. What was that? Aaron Copland's theme for the Fanfare for the Common Man. I played it one time. It was at, I think that would, it was written towards the end of World War II, and it's kind of like the anthem of the end of World War II. So that's always a good one too to listen to. I'd like to thank you for listening. I hope you're doing well. I know we're not always about mental health and stuff like that, but this is me as a Keys bartender. Sometimes I run into people at work. For some reason, I see people, and sometimes they're having a hard time. And that's my wife. I will talk to you later. Hello? No. I'm doing a podcast, man. In fact, I'm signing off right now.